Welcome to the Judges Guidelines for the Australian Individual and Debating Public Speaking Championships. Some of you listening to this have judged this competition before. Others have judged other public speaking and debating competitions. And some of you listening have never judged a public speaking or debating competition ever. So the first thing that I want you to do is to relax and not worry. If you do this, you will actually enjoy yourself and you will do a good job, whether or not you've had any experience. Indeed, it is important that public speaking and debating are judged by non-experts, since the essence of public speaking is the ability to convince, impress, or entertain an average audience, not just an expert one. The only essential requirement for judging is that you, the judge, are able to ignore any of your own opinions and biases and make your decision based solely on the material presented by the student in front of you. To begin with, I want you to take note that students in this competition receive 50 out of 100 for standing up, 55 for making audible noises, and 60 for speaking. In this competition, we do not award marks below 60 out of 100. This competition is as much about encouraging the students as it is about the students competing to win. Please remember throughout this competition, it is school students who are speaking to you, not experts. Sometimes it helps judges to visualise it like this. If we were to give a mark between 50 and 59, we would be saying to the student that you're a poor speaker, that you belong in a D range. So we start at 60 because between 60 to 69, the speaker is weak, but they're still passing. They're getting a C minus. Between 70 to 79, that's an average speaker or a C to C plus. Between 80 and 89, you are giving them a range within the Bs, so a B minus, a B or a B plus, and this is considered to be very good. 90 to 100 means that they're superb. They're an A range, an A minus, an A or an A plus. Debating in the Australian Individual and Debating Public Speaking Championships is unique. It's coordinate parliamentary debating, and each competitor is not debating with a partner they know, but a partner from another school. Emphasis on judging will be on clash, spontaneity, logic, wit, content, and teamwork. And I want you to remember that you are judging individuals, not teams. So you're not actually awarding the debate at the end of it. What you're actually doing is just judging the individuals based on how well they fulfilled their role in this particular debate. In the debates in the Australian Individual and Debating Public Speaking Championships, we allow points of information. A point of information is a single question, no more than 15 seconds in length. To raise a point of information, the debater stands during an opponent's speech and says, "Point of information," or "on that point." The person who is speaking has the option of accepting that point by saying yes, accepting it but not right away by saying "in a moment," or declining it by saying "no thank you" or waving them down. If they accept it, the person who raised the point can ask one brief question and then sit down. The person speaking then deals with it as they see fit. When scoring a debate, the best guideline for scoring is to ask yourself whether you would want this student to represent you in a dispute, assuming that you only had to be represented by a high school student. A mark in the 90s means that you would be thrilled to have this person as your advocate. Given that a high school student is your only option, this is the one you would want to have, and they will free you from all charges, even though the prosecutors have your prints, a murder weapon, and a confession. A mark in the 80s means that you would be happy to have this student as your representative, and your odds are still good. He might clear your name if the prosecutors have only circumstantial evidence against you, but you'll probably be doing some time. You consider the possibility of having to choose window curtains for your cell if the murder weapon is found. A mark in the 70s means that you would be neither pleased nor alarmed, but you had better have a watertight alibi. The prosecutors have only circumstantial evidence against you, but this debater will still probably lose your case. At least he's good enough to keep you from getting the electric chair. Hope you like ankle chains and orange jumpsuits with numbers on them, though, because this could be the outcome. A mark in the 60s means that you are probably doomed. Even though you are truly not guilty of the crime, this debater might still lose the case. With this student representing you, you're enjoying the last bit of fresh air you're going to have for a good many years, and you'll be lucky if you don't get the chair. With impromptu speaking, speakers may speak in favour, against, or they can sit on the fence and speak in favour and against a topic. Speakers may take a humorous approach, a serious one, or some may take a combination of the two. Wit, humour, logic, philosophy and sentiment are all equally welcome. Judges will be looking for agility of thought, for substance, for organisational ability, and above all, for the ability of each speaker to communicate with style and originality. The best guideline for scoring impromptu speaking is to ask yourself, if you had to pick a high school student to speak to an audience with only a couple of minutes preparation, and it was very important to you that the speech go well and have some content, it is this student that you would want. A mark in the 90s means that you would be delighted to have this person speak. He or she will delight the audience with a seemingly professional speech, and afterwards, people will wonder in disbelief if this was truly a high school student. 80s means that you would be happy to have this student as the speaker. He or she will be quite solid, but should not quit his or her day job. A mark in the 70s means that you would be better off claiming that the scheduled speaker was unavailable. And a mark in the 60s means that your event would be a disaster with him or her speaking. 3 to 5 minutes of dead air time might actually be preferable. With interpretive reading, judges will be concerned with how much the reader's voice and presentation add to the material, rather than with the talent of the author. Please note that this is a reading, not a dramatic presentation. Competitors may stand or sit, but should not move around excessively or recite the piece rather than read it. The best guideline for scoring interpretive reading is to ask yourself, if you had to pick someone to read your novel to an audience, a reading which was crucial in determining if you got a publishing contract, and for some reason you had to have a high school student do the reading, it is this student that you would want. A mark in the 90s means that you would be delighted to have this person as your representative reader, and his or her reading would not only ensure that your book is published, but that it becomes a bestseller as well. 80s means that you would be happy to have this student as the person to read your book. They would also ensure that you got the publishing deal and that your book was read by lots of people. A mark in the 70s implies that the book had better be good, because the reading certainly isn't adding much. And a mark in the 60s indicates that the people present will probably want to burn the book, and you will never get a publishing house to print anything ever written by you. Persuasive speaking is as the title suggests. It is designed to persuade and must be on a serious topic, although this does not mean that humour might not be useful at points in the speech. A problem-solution approach must be taken. For example, speakers must identify a problem, and it need not be an earth-shattering one, and propose, or at least examine, one or more solutions to it. Judges will be concerned primarily with how persuasive the speaker is, and should give more credit to speakers who undertake more challenging topics. The persuasive element may be in the convincing you that the problem exists, or in its significance, or it may be a problem that everyone knows about, and the persuasiveness is in the convincing you that the solution is valid. Obviously, this may mean that they devote most of the time to the problem and less time to the solution. Perhaps it's the other way round. As long as it's convincing, it doesn't matter how they do it. When marking, Persuasive speaking. The best guideline for scoring is to ask yourself whether you would want this student to be your spokesperson for a cause that mattered a great deal to you, assuming that you had to have a high school student present the case. A mark in the 90s means that you would be delighted to have this person as your advocate. Given that a high school student is your only option, this is the one that you would want to have. 80s means that you would be happy to have this student as your representative and your cause is likely to succeed. A mark in the 70s means that they will probably hurt your case. And a mark in the 60s means that your cause, however good, will be doomed with them arguing for it. After dinner speaking is meant to be comical. However, it must not be just a stand-up comedy routine. An after-dinner speech is the kind of speech that is given after a formal dinner to an audience who has a common interest or shares some aspects of identity, employment, or character. For example, the Left-Handed Society or the Dental Association. Although not necessarily human, both speaker and audience must be credibly capable of communication through speech. For example, they may be vampires or aliens, but they may not be animals, and no props may be used. If the person giving the after-dinner speech would not normally have those glasses or that hat or that staff, then that's considered a prop, and they are not allowed to use this in their speeches. The best guideline for scoring after-dinner speaking is to ask yourself whether, if you had to select a high school student to speak at a dinner that you were organising, and that was very important to you, this is the one you would pick. A mark in the 90s means that you would be delighted to have this person as your speaker, and his or her speech will be the high point of the evening. 80s means that you would be happy to have this student as your speaker, and he or she will definitely add to everyone's enjoyment. A mark in the 70s implies that the food had better be good, because the speech certainly is not adding much. And a mark in the 60s indicates that your dinner guests will probably never speak to you again. Finally, I want you to notice that in this presentation, none of the scoring went below 60 out of 100. And I want you to remember this whilst judging. As judges, I also want you not to worry about time penalties. If the speaker goes under or over time, we'll take care of that in the tab room. Above all else, I want you to enjoy what the students have to offer. They are sharing their thoughts, their ideas, and their feelings about the world. And above all else, we need to encourage them. It takes a lot of courage to stand up and do what they're doing in this championship, and we need to remember that we are judging how well they do that. Thank you.